But we got to start with the Cavs because last night, guys, the Celtics and the Bucks played in what I think is going to be a preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay. Game went to overtime, and I think it's fascinating the way this works out. The last game before the break, the 1 and the 2 are played last night. Milwaukee. And
Celtics.
Boston.
Milwaukee played the Celtics last night, and tonight it's the 3 and the 4. The Cavs are at the 76ers. Should we read into this as being like this huge game because it could well be a playoff matchup down the road?
Yes. Yes. I mean, at this point, we passed the halfway mark. Yeah, everybody loves to say, oh, they don't get serious until All-Star break. But if you got a game like this going into All-Star break, to get that momentum, to get that big win, yeah, you got a couple of wins over the Celtics, but that was in the beginning of the year. At this point, the chemistry is there. Coaching has gotten better. Y'all on, what are we on, an 8-game winning streak right now?
7, I believe.
Or 7-game to make it 8.
It would be 8 if they win.
To make it 8 going into the All-Star week, you feeling good? Yeah, this is a huge game. Plus, the 76ers know that the Cavs are, I think, 1 game out of behind them. So
they are 1 game behind.
So this is a big win for the 76ers.
They're in the
some
4.
Some lead.
And they are 1 game behind the Sixers, who are in the 3. G-Bush, you agree?
Tyvus is dead on. I'll tell you reason why. See, there's a difference between people that can do things with consistency and people that just do things one time, right? I can come up with some content every day. I talk all day long. But in other parts of my life, I'm not as consistent. We was at Jay's house. We was eating all kind of crazy food. Now, Jay ate worse food than me. He ate the same food as me.
What?
But I turned around and looked at Jay and was like, see, the difference between Jay and me is Jay's going to go right back to the treadmill tomorrow. And I might be eating the same thing I was eating today. You see? It's about consistency and setting some goals, right? It's life goals. So if you're talking about the Cavs is me. You got to set some consistency. You can't eat bad 2 days and then eat good and get on the treadmill and lift a couple weights and fill you right back. That's not what it is. If you aspire to be totally in shape and getting where you want to go, you got to do it every single day. And guess what? I saw the Milwaukee Bucks play, and they play hard. I saw the Boston Celtics play, and they didn't even have their stars, and they played their tail off. It's building habits because you can't turn it on and off. I need a team to be developing something, especially when you're young. So this is a great opportunity. They can let this go and say, okay, we 6-1 going into the Eastern, into the All-Star break. That's good enough. No. I want to see them have some mental toughness and everybody playing, and I really want them to put it on the floor against a team who has better players or who has been there, has been in them fights. I want to see them play hard, and if they win this game, it's going to say the Cavs took a step for themselves as a young team.
I like the matchups in this game. I like you got James Harden versus Donovan. You got Tyrese versus Darius. You got Embiid versus Allen. And you got Tobias Harris versus Evan. Evan has really been showing out these last few games. Like, to get a good test up against Tobias Harris and stuff like that, it lets you know that where you at. Listen, last year we talked about how Jared Allen was the 2nd best center in the East, and he went up against Embiid, and Embiid completely embarrassed him.
There's a big difference there.
He got to find a way to get some get back against this man. It's tough. It's very tough. But this is a measuring stick for Jared Allen. I mean, you got to at least show some type of resistance.
Now, I want Bull to go. I'll hold my fire for the last. I want Bull to go next because I just want to let you guys know that the entire time you were talking,
he was sitting
Bull was in his own
phone. Yeah.
Bull was like, I got no time for this.
Analytics. This is analytics.
Well, I was actually trying to look up something. I was paying attention. Listen, 20 years in radio. I've learned how to look something up and still pay attention. So I heard everything these guys said about how important it is. I get it, what you're saying. To me, the only importance of this game is the standings.
Right.
That's it.
So there'll be no carryover message.
0. If the Cavs win this game, does it increase their chances of beating the Sixers in the playoffs? Only if it helps give them home court advantage.
But what about the fact that, Tyvus, you can speak to this, what about the idea that it gives you the mental notch in your brain that we can beat these guys?
I mean, it's
at their place.
It's one of those games where you're getting their best of them. There's no injuries. There's
Well,
none of that
Embiid is
going on.
questionable for tonight.
Well,
I think he's going to play.
I
but
think they'll all play.
They're all going to play.
Yeah.
For sure.
By the way, Tobias Harris, when I was working in New York, used to call my radio show overnights when he was in high school.
Nice guy.
Really?
I used to call. He
was in high school.
He was in high school. He used to call my show all the time, and he would tell me about his basketball playing. He was really good.
Really?
And I had forgotten about this when he went to the
Wow.
the NBA, and then a guy who used to produce for me was like, "Don't you remember he used to call you every time you would fill in on the weekends?"
Wow, that's crazy.
And I didn't remember
nuts.
that.
Wow.
He's the
Shout out to
nicest
him.
dude on the Sixers.
So
by the
you
way.
don't think that this is any bigger than
No.
any other regular season game, other than the importance in the standings?
No, because I think the Cavs have even if they win this game, I'm still not going to be confident that they can have success on the road in the playoffs.
Right.
And nothing. I guess if they piled up a bunch of wins against good teams the rest of the season, I might have more confidence. But if they win this one, road game and then lose most of the rest of their road games against good teams, I'm still not going to have confidence. Philly's a veteran team. They're an experienced team. I think it's possible the Cavs could beat them in the playoffs, certainly, especially if they get home court, and that's why I do think the game is important from that perspective. But Philly's not. If Philly loses this game, they're not going to go into a series. Let's say the Cavs play Philly in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're not going to go into a series with the Cavs and say, well, they beat us at home. We can't beat them now. Of course they're not going to be thinking that way.
It will be somewhere back there. Just like Boston's got that
I
back
think
there.
I could buy it gives the Cavs a little confidence, maybe. I don't buy it would hurt the confidence of Philly. But why I do think it's big is because you want to be the 3 seed if you can.
Yeah.
And if you this is what I was looking for, and I was having a hard time finding it for some reason. I believe the Cavs and Philly are only playing 3 times this year. Does that make sense, Mike?
I'll confirm in a sec. They've already played once.
Right, and
This
the
will be
Cavs won
second.
that game. So if they're only playing 3 times, and the Cavs won the first game, and
They
I
only
think,
played 3 times.
okay, so if the Cavs win tonight,
They win the series.
they win the season series, which means
If they tie-
they would have home court advantage. They'd be a higher seed.
That's why it's
so
big.
from that perspective, it does matter.
But don't
Yeah.
you think that it would also, because if this is a team that they haven't been to the playoffs.
They're young,
the Cavs they haven't been to the playoffs.
Right.
And the 76ers have. To go up against an experienced team like that and beat them 2 out of the 3 times. I mean, that's huge.
It's a good win. I just think once the playoffs is such a different game.
It is.
And teams prepare for it so different. Even if we say the Sixers are bringing it all tonight, well, they just played, right? So in the playoffs, the preparation for these games is so much different. And for the Cavs to play Philly, most likely, you're talking about. I mean, probably they're not going to play Philly if you
They
think
will
about
not
it.
play Philly in the
because they're going to
playoffs.
be most likely the 3 and the 4 seed.
Yeah, and
which
they won't
means
see one
unless
They go to
somehow
the-
they
they
both
go to the
upset
final.
Milwaukee and Boston,
Then they meet in the finals.
Then they meet in
Yeah.
the Eastern Conference
Well,
Finals.
this is the reason why Donovan Mitchell is so important.
Yeah.
I think he almost erases a little bit of that learning curve, right?
'Cause he's been there.
Because he's been there. He's been a number 1 seed in the West. He's not gonna let them get out of games. Like if they just had the roster they had last year, the Cavs could go out there on the road and get buzzsawed. Right.
Right, sure.
And they'd be down 30 points, and you'd be like, oh, well, they just learned what it is to turn it on.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell will keep them in certain games and not let them be like, look, guys, we got to do this, and this, and this,
Right.
and this. And so that's why he's so important to have, because he can almost mitigate a little bit of it. Now, it's not going to be, he can't cover for everything. The intensity is different. But he at least can tell him what it's like, and he can show him by him playing a certain way that this is the level you got to get to.
And he is the leader,
Yeah.
and they will follow that lead.
Yes.
And I do think the one interesting thing is something, I can't remember which one of you guys brought it up before, but Joel Embiid kicked their ass, right?
Yes, he did.
He is as good as it gets
He did.
at that position.
Very
And
tough handle for
He's
us.
a major challenge, and I'd love to see, especially Mobley. I know Jared Allen is going to play him, but Mobley's going to play against him somewhat.
He will.
And I want to see how these guys handle Embiid, who's as dangerous a player in the post as there is.
I'm somewhere in between you guys, but I think I'm closer to G and Tyvis in terms of this being big. I'm not going to say it's huge, but I will say because it's on the road, that's this team's Achilles for sure. Mm-hmm. If they end up matching up with a better team in the playoffs on the road, they need all these road wins against good teams that they can get. They've already got one against Boston. Mm-hmm. They can put that in their cap. It's not going to ensure, like you said, it's not going to ensure that they do the same thing in the playoffs, but you just want to know that when they went all in and you went all in. You were able to beat them when both teams were at their best, even though it wasn't the playoffs. The other thing, too, is the difference between the 3 and the 4 this year, I don't think it's that big. Milwaukee and Boston right now are separated by a half game. I think they both have 41 wins.
Right.
So normally you would say, well, God, we've got to be the 3 because we don't want to be the 1. We don't want to play the 1. So if you're the 3, you face off with the 2 in the second round.
But what about in the first round?
The 4 gets the 1. The first round, really, I mean, it's too hard to project who they might play because they're either going to get the 5 or the 6. Either one.
Correct.
And you start looking at those, they're interchangeable, both of them. It's almost impossible to right now say who's going to win that.
There's 3 teams right now in that mix. Brooklyn, which
I think is going to fall.
We expect them to completely tank.
I think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think
they're frisky. Trust me.
I don't think they're going to be
good.
I don't think they're going to be the 5 or the 6, though.
And then Miami.
I think Miami's probably going to be a likely first-round opponent.
Are right there, too.
Yeah,
I think, real quick, sorry to interrupt, but of all those 3 teams, you do not want to play Miami in the first round.
No, I definitely
don't. Not that they're super talented by any means, but their playoff history, they find ways to win and they grind you down.
And you can make an argument that you don't want to play any of those teams. I mean, Brooklyn probably, I would say, now they're constituted. But I don't like a team that's playing with house money and something they really want to prove. They want to prove that, hey, we didn't need these guys to be good. The other thing that I'll say before we move off of this.
The Heat do have the biggest superstar,
They do, and they also, just to McNugget's point, they're well coached, they're well led, and I don't want to see them in a playoff series because you're going to get everything they have.
And Jimmy just
right. Jimmy's terrifying.
He go from 20 points in the average and 20 to 50 in this.
If he wants
in the play, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's not a great
right. The
matchup.
Nets and Knicks don't have a player like that.
I just wanted to bring up one other stat as we wrap this point. Last year, the Cavs going into the All-Star break, they were 35-21. Remember how much excitement there was on this team? It wasn't even we were saying maybe they can get in the top 4.
Yeah.
Well, after the All-Star break, they were 9-17.
Yeah, right. It was bad.
Injuries a big factor.
Now, obviously, injuries played a huge part in that.
Yeah.
But to me, they hit the wall because they played defense so hard all season long leading up to the All-Star break, where most teams, especially veterans, and that's why you're seeing these big numbers this year, they're like, look, save the defense for the playoffs. It takes so much more energy to play defense. So right now, I thought they were a lot better this year. I said their record last year going to the All-Star break, 35-21. This year they're 38-21. If they lose, they're 38-22, and their winning percentage would be almost identical to what it was last year, which is shocking to me because I felt like they've had a much better first half this year.
Oh, they have. Look at the teams they beat. They've beaten Boston twice.
I know they did early in the season, but yes.
They beat Milwaukee. They have not really, to be truthful, the teams they've lost against are not very good teams.
I don't remember what their record was against the top teams last year, but I got to imagine it's a lot better this year.
Yes. I think it is just because, to your point, they've beaten Boston twice, Milwaukee once, and that's why if you win against Philly tonight, you can say you've got 2 wins against Milwaukee or Boston, 1 against Milwaukee, and 2 against Philly.
That's tough. That's tough.
I know it's not going to ensure that you beat these teams in the playoffs, but here's the thing. They're going to have to beat either Boston or Milwaukee once on the road.
Yeah.
You got to win tonight because it's a big road game.
Right.
You need all the confidence that you can beat good teams on the road that you can get, and this is another opportunity to do that.
I think in a perfect world, they end up the 3 seed, Boston's the 2 seed, and the Nets are the 6 seed. That's the best case scenario.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I'd rather play the Nets than I don't worry about the Knicks either. But if I had to choose, I'd rather play the Nets than the Knicks.
That kid gets 50. I don't like that 50-point kid.
Cam Thomas is
and I do not like. I like Jacques Vaughn the way he coaches. I don't like that. You give me the Nets. The Knicks. Excuse me. I like to see Julius Randle jacking up shots. I'll take that.
Who did they just get? Oh, they got Josh Hart. That's who they got.
You give me them. I'll give me some.
By the way, one last quick thing before we switch gears to football. I don't know if anybody's watched it yet. I watched the first 2/3 of the Bill Russell documentary on Netflix.
Has it changed your mind? in terms of all time, right? Or
I still don't think he belongs in the conversation in terms of LeBron and Michael Jordan. He certainly belongs in the conversation. He's just not the scorer. I didn't realize how bad a shooter he was, like, in the early stages of his career. He talked about, he's obviously passed away 6-8 months ago, but he talked, they had a lot of audio of him talking, and he talked about how he was thinking about quitting like a couple of weeks into his NBA career.
That's shocking.
He's like, he couldn't shoot. It was crazy.
He gave
but
up
man, what he had to, I mean, I guess we all know this.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
I'm going to check that out.
What he had to put up with.
Oh.